changing work going on in the other room. Anyway, with no further ado, looks like an interesting talk today from Pastor Peter Ezzy. Thank you, Peter.
It's good to be back in Darwin after experiencing Melbourne. I still don't know how people live down there. 4 seasons in one day. You're cooked, you're fried, and you're frozen. I just don't understand them. So many clothes that you need to keep warm, then cool. But the interesting thing for this sermon, and I told my grandchildren I wouldn't use them, but the composing of this was as I watched them interact with one another in daily activities. And then I started to see it happening in all sorts of areas of life. And it's interesting, do I feel I'm entitled? And of course you would tell me no. Do you feel that you deserve better in life? Yeah? No? Sometimes. Why? Do you think the world owes you something? Or someone who complains when their effort isn't recognised? Or the friend who expects your constant support that never offers theirs in return? We can look at each other. Yeah. I think we're all part and parcel of that one. But entitlement is arrogance. And our system promotes it and encourages it. And it does so in so many ways. Because I came across this and I looked at it and thought, what? I don't feel entitled, I am entitled is the difference. Now, is there a difference? Do you feel entitled? Or you are entitled? And one of the things that I find fascinating when I do go flying is, you know, when it's time to board, what happens? It's interesting, just before the time comes, everybody gets up and they start moving around closer to the entrance. And you look around and you think, where were you people before? And then they say, only rows 1 to 4, you'll go through priority 1. That will be followed by group 2. This is if you flew Qantas. And that will be rows 5 through 16. Then there's group 3 and group 4 and group 5 and group 6. So if you're in group 6, you're at the back of the plane, mate. You don't get in till after all this mob have gone through. And they check your tickets as you're going through. No, you're group 4. You'll have to get back out there. And I thought, yeah, boarding passes where status buys priority, or a VIP pass that allows people to bypass the lanes altogether. Now, companies promote entitlement and they package it as a privilege. We are constantly being told that we deserve things. We are special. It can often become a trap to someone who believes it only to experience a cycle of disappointment because reality doesn't match their inflated sense of what they're owed. And entitlement is easy to find in other people, but we don't often see it in ourselves. Entitlement is seeing the world where rules don't apply to you. Entitlement doesn't only begin at home, it gets reinforced by our culture that surrounds us. And one of the things I notice with my grandchildren is when they got, grandparents give them something for a present, this is what happens. Have you seen that? Mine, 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 mine. And it begins in societies that build on individualism. We are taught from the beginning that uniqueness equals value, and that value should be rewarded. You're special. You deserve the best. Don't settle for anything less. These are our cultural messages given to us today. And entitlement is not just to one gender, it reaches across to all genders. Now, the traditional male is portrayed as dominant and expects to be waited on hand and foot and for everyone to be at his beck and call. That's the stereotype that's presented. Women are no longer needed protection. They're fiercely independent, and anything a man can do, they can do better. Okay. Now, consumer culture takes us even further. Advertising works by convincing us that we not only want something, but we deserve it. So our entitlement is tied to our identity. In other words, you've got to buy not just any car, you've got to buy the right car. You have to have the right appliances. You have to wear the right clothes. Why? It's about proving worth and value. Wow, okay. Entitlement is part and parcel of our economic growth, with the promise that being a good consumer means you're entitled to comfort, status, and admiration. Fast food, what do they promise? If you haven't got it there in how many minutes, then it's free. Has anyone ever got that? Why? They're good on their promise? Well, it means you're entitled to it. And they design entire campaigns around speed and convenience. Online platforms nudge us to believe that waiting for anything is an insult to us. If you can have groceries in an hour and a package in a day, they obviously don't live in Darwin, then why shouldn't everything else in life bend to my timeline? Now, my daughter, she wanted to get something for my wife, and so she just, online in Melbourne, it was there the next day at lunchtime. And I thought, wow, I use the same thing and it takes 2 weeks. Why am I discriminated against? I'm privileged. I pay just as much as she does, and yet it takes twice as long. Oh, sorry. So I'm not entitled? Oh. Okay. So entitlement grows naturally in a system that constantly teaches people their personal satisfaction is the highest good. Now, this is another one. My granddaughter, who can just wobble, 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 she's into IT. Her mum gave her a phone and she was filming herself. I don't know how she found the button because I couldn't find it on her phone. But she found the button and she was laughing and she was taking pictures. So what I find with social media, it promotes entitlement. Now, you might laugh at that, but go to a restaurant any time, and instead of seeing adults or people talking to one another, they do it by text or phone. On the plane, it's wonderful how people just can't do without their technology. But it promotes a sense of entitlement. Platforms are built to deliver specialized feeds where every like and every comment reinforces the sense that we are to be the center stage. When your phone keeps telling you again and again that your thoughts, your meals, your opinions deserve an audience, it's easy to believe that entitlement is simply reality. Now, you might have gone shopping once and looked at something, and your phone comes up again with a different request, but it's the same stores promoting what you just looked at. So they're promoting and pushing you that you deserve these things. So algorithms feed the sense that you're important, and in turn, any disruption to that, like being ignored or criticized or overlooked, feels like an injustice rather than a normal part of human experience. When someone accustomed to validation suddenly becomes criticized, it doesn't just sting, it feels like a violation of what they were promised. The gap between fantasy and reality widens, and entitlement fuels outrage. How dare the world not affirm me in the way that I come to expect? And what makes this culturally reinforcement so powerful is that it doesn't just tell us what to want. It tells us that wanting is the same as deserving. The blur between desire and entitlement is where a lot of frustration and conflict begins. When entitlement matures into a personality pattern, what you see isn't strength, it's emotional immaturity. At its core, entitlement is the refusal to accept limits. It is the inability to tolerate frustration when life says no, and to the resistance to seeing other people as equal centers of value. This is why entitlement often overlaps with traits associated with people who are called narcissists. The entitled person tends to struggle with empathy. They see other people less as subjects with their own inner lives and more as instruments that are either delivered what they want or get in the way. But beneath the surface, entitlement is often fragile. The constant demand for attention, more recognition, more exceptions is not a sign of inner confidence. It's a sign of insecurity, an unsteady self-image that depends on the world's compliance to feel stable. When the world doesn't comply, the entitled person lashes out or collapses into disappointment, relationship strain under weight of one-sided expectations. Workplaces become tense when one person believes rules shouldn't apply to them, even when in the entitled person themselves there's a pattern of dissatisfaction. If you believe you are owed more than you receive, life will always feel as though it's failing you. The irony is that entitlement doesn't lead to greater happiness. It leads to a constant sense of grievance, as if the world is not always, it's always falling short of giving you what you deserve. And here is where it becomes uncomfortable. Entitlement is not just a problem of particular people. Entitlement versus expectation. Now, most of us carry small versions of entitlement. Now, for those who are married, do you get angry at your partner? No, never. You don't have differences of opinion. You don't have different expectations of your needs being met. I think if we're honest, yes, we do. We feel as when we're angry, a partner didn't anticipate our needs. When we bristle that someone else's recognition should have been ours, or whether we believe something should be changed just for us. Entitlement is part of the human condition because it's part of our early wiring. The child crying out to be fed and comforted and soothed. The difference is that maturity is supposed to teach us how to grow beyond it, how to move from a posture of being owed into a position of grace and humility. Entitlement is easy to condemn in others, but it's much harder to recognise in ourselves. But the truth is, it grows out in every human place. Our upbringing, our culture, our longing for importance, our resistance to limits. It looks like arrogance on the surface, but underneath, it's often just unprocessed immaturity, a refusal to accept people who live entitled lives often end up frustrated because reality doesn't change as much as they believed it should. Their relationships suffer because others grow tired of one-sided expectations. And their own lives are marked by disappointment because when you believe you are owed more than you receive, satisfaction will never be gained. Now, entitlement is something that each one of us deals with, and it's something that our enemy uses against us, that we feel we deserved, we should be owed. It's our right rather than a privilege. And one of the scriptures that it brought me back to is the prodigal son. In Luke 15:7-13, then Jesus said, a man had two sons. The younger son said to his father, give me my share of the property. So the father divided the property between his two sons. Then the younger son gathered up all that was his and travelled far away to another country. There he wasted his money in foolish living. Now what we have here is a father and obviously two sons. And the younger son felt it was time. He felt it was entitled. He had no trouble in going to his father and getting what he thought he deserved. But I wondered, did he really think about his father and whether it was just a one-side relationship between him and his dad? Dad, just give me what I'm owed. Give me what I'm entitled. I think sometimes our view of God is one of indulgence. We expect that God should always provide us with whatever we want and without delay. We view him, if you like, as our sugar daddy in the sky. All we must do is ask him for whatever we want, whenever we want it, and somehow he's okay with it. Yeah, son, here it is. Just take it. It's yours. That's our perspective sometimes of God. Now, if we don't get what we feel we deserve, what do? Who do we get angry with? God, I've asked you so many times for this and you still haven't answered. What's up with you? What's the delay? I'm hanging out for this. Why don't you give it to me? And of course, when it still doesn't come, we get angry. And we let God know that we're not exactly happy with his decision. And we believe we have that right. In fact, often we think it is our right. And so the relationship becomes one-sided between God and ourselves. We'd rather use God rather than love him. And this happens when I allow my emotions and impulses to dictate and control me. It means I no longer trust God as my source of satisfaction. I won't listen to anything he has to say. I'm just going to go and do my own thing. And when I feel entitled or that I deserve special attention, then my relationships tend to be based on what benefit is it going to me for me to invest in another person's life. Do I want to invest my time and effort in their lives for nothing so they can become all that God wants? Or will I do it if they can offer me something in return? That's entitlement. And it's a challenge to God's people because often we look at each other for what we can give each other or benefit from one another. And there are Christians who will use that. Oh, I know such and such. I know such and such. He'll do it. He'll do it. He'll do it. She'll do it. She's available. She'll do it. And use them, but not invest in them. And as the account goes on, in Luke 15:14 through 19, the younger son, and after he'd spent everything, a time came when there was no food anywhere in the country. And the son was poor and hungry. So he got a job with one of the citizens there who sent the son into the fields to feed pigs. The son was so hungry that he wanted to eat the pods the pigs were eating, but no one gave him anything. When he realized what he was doing, he thought, all of my father's servants have plenty of food, but I'm here, almost dying with hunger. I'll leave and return to my father and say to him, Father, I've sinned against God and against you. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son, but let me be one of your servants. Entitled people believe they deserve the best that life has to offer them. And when things don't go the way they expect, it doesn't take them long to play the blame game. It's everybody else's fault. You don't understand what I have to go through. If things had only been different, and I hear this one, if only I'd won the lottery, things would be different. I wonder, would they? Or would they be worse? In this passage, the younger son is a wake-up call. His fantasy has become his nightmare. He has no rights. He has no privileges. He has hit rock bottom and now appreciates all that his father has and all that his father is. In verses 25 to 30, we pick up with the older son. The older son was in the field, and as he came closer to the house, he heard the sound of music and dancing. So he called to one of the servants and asked what all this meant. The servant said, your brother has come back, and your father killed the fat calf because your brother came home safely. The older son was so angry, he would not go into the feast. So his father went out and begged him to come in. But the older son said to the father, I've served you like a slave for many years, and I've always obeyed your commands, but you never gave me even a young goat to have a feast with my friends. But your other son, who wasted all your money on prostitutes, comes home, and you kill the fat calf for him? Is there a problem here? See, we see an older brother now who feels entitled. But he has a wrong view of himself and what he deserves. He regards himself above others and takes for granted. And sometimes I think that's what we do. We take for granted with what we have and feel we deserve more and better. Are you discontent with what you have now? Would you like something better? Do you feel you deserve it? That you're owed it? That you've worked hard but it hasn't happened yet? You see, one of the traps is you can't be grateful for something you feel entitled to. You can't be grateful for something you feel entitled to. And entitled people, gratefulness or thankfulness is a missing element. And the process begins with resentment to God and others, which leads to entitlement, the belief we have a right or we deserve better than our present circumstances. This brother had resentment towards his brother and father. He had stayed, he'd put in the extra yards, he believed he deserved or was entitled to better things. If we live a life of entitlement, we find ourselves isolated and lonely. We view people as targets or obstacles to blame for our unhappiness. This older brother also kept a record of accounts. He kept a record of all his hurts. And he held them against his father. You notice what he said? You never once gave me a party. You never did this for me. You never. And all the time I worked for you, you did nothing for me. You gave my younger brother everything. I deserve more. Yet you go out and kill the fatted calf for him. What about me? In Luke 15, the father said to him, Son, you are always with me, and all that I have is yours. We had to celebrate and be happy because your brother was dead, but now he's alive. He was lost, but now he is found. We need to deal with our sense of entitlement, resentment, if we're to grow spiritually. Rather than view God as our big sugar daddy in the sky, we need to realize that love is a two-way street. Our relationship with God is personal and it's intimate. It's built on trust and obedience. And we need to embrace our mission and purpose together, appreciating each other's skills and abilities that complement us rather than competing against each other and causing division and resentment. And this can happen, and it does happen, often in churches. And one of the things I've grown to appreciate over the years is the different abilities and personalities that God brings into the church. And he has a sense of humor, and he says, work. Doesn't say anything else, just work. In other words, we've got to do it. And it's interesting how different personalities clash. How others are confrontational and strong and self-opinionated, and others are non-confrontational and do whatever it takes. But we make God's purpose our mission rather than looking for self-importance. Make it our priority to help and seek those who are lost to find life in Him. And I was reminded of this too. It's nothing new. It's been around. Oops. The children of Israel, did they ever feel entitled? I mean, they were God's special chosen people. They really enjoyed that. You see, they said to one another in Numbers 14:4, let us appoint a leader and return to Egypt. You see, here they were stepping out into the great adventure that God's saying, I'm taking you to the promised land. And here they are saying, hang on a minute, let's appoint a leader and go back. Edge of the promised land. They feared what was waiting for them. Yet this is not the first time they looked longingly over the shoulder towards Egypt. In Exodus 14, 11 through 12, at the Red Sea, it is because there were no graves in Egypt that you have taken us to die in the wilderness. And what did they say? It would be better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in the wilderness. Wow, that's thankfulness. And in the wilderness of sin in Exodus 16, if only we had died by the Lord's hand in the land of Egypt, where we sat by, guess what? Pots of meat and ate our fill of bread. What were they? Slaves. You know, it's a selective memory when you're hungry. And bondage looks appetizing when the stomach growls. But they had a habit of feeling entitled, that they deserve something better. And as I come to a close, the thought crossed my mind, because once again, one of my grandchildren said, "Mum, that's not fair." What's not fair? He took my present. Well, sometimes we have the same attitude towards God. Is God fair? Is life fair? You see, life's not fair, but God is fair. The reality is, if I start living my life by thinking life isn't fair, then I'm basing my life on what I think I deserve rather than being thankful for what I've already been given. You know, they call Australia the lucky country. And when we compare it to so many other countries, we are blessed. We really are. By the things that we have, that we take for granted. We take as though it's our right, it's our privilege. It's not. We've been blessed. There is an antidote for entitlement, and that is to realize who I am and who God is. He's my creator, and He created me, and He's promised He'll meet and supply and give me everything that I need, not everything that I want. Entitlement isn't confidence, it's control disguised as self-worth. Now, has entitlement found its way into church life? Yes? No? Don't know. Don't care. Has entitlement found its way into church? How? Well, you see, entitlement expresses itself through personal tastes. In other words, we all have different opinions, okay? This side here, should we have old hymns? This side here, should we have more modern music? There's nothing wrong with expressing opinions. But sometimes there are people that feel entitled. We've got to have more hymns. That's the way the church was brought up. We can't have any of this new rubbish. And vice versa. Get rid of the old, bring in the new. Well, I'm thankful we haven't got head banging here, but what I'm saying is it expresses itself in personal tastes concerning what worship should be, the style and the type of music that is to be used. And not only that, I'm thankful the person's not here, but the lengths of sermons. I've done my 20 minutes, but in the early days here, I remember seeing someone put their hand up after the 20-minute mark and go like this. I was too long, so I went longer. But all I'm saying is the different styles. People like different preachers who preach a certain style and others who are different. And we feel we deserve to have them or hear them or this or that. It's come in. But entitled people have a reluctance to serve unless there's a direct benefit for them to do so. Others may want the status and desire of influence that go with positions of power. Entitled people do not consider character or call, but rely on seniority or money to get what they want. Now, I was enlightened. We went to the Presbyterians in Victoria, quite a large group. And they had, on that day, the induction of elders. Now, they view elders as different from what I view elders. But they inducted, and to become an elder, you do a 2-year course. And that 2-year course, you then are examined, and you're giving a certificate that you can serve as an elder in that Presbyterian local church there, and that's it. And it doesn't have anything to do with a call. It has everything to do with service in the church. It's a different way of doing it, but it's very much on tradition, because there's certain families that their father was an elder, their brother was an elder, their uncle was an elder, this one's an elder, so you've got to become an elder as well. And there's that feeling of entitlement. Now, entitled people, we can become spiritually complacent. We're quite happy to take, but not give, and allow ourselves to be transformed and accountable to others as they grow. What happens within the church? It brings division and competitiveness within the church. We're not on the same page. There's not sharing the same purse. And so what happens is, and it's happening in many churches, the church becomes inward focused. It's only what happens within these 4 walls, rather than what's happening out in the world, the people that are lost. And my challenge as I finish is simply this. When it comes to entitlement, is it God's enthronement or my entitlement that's the most important thing in life? Is God the king of my life? Or am I? Is he in control? Well, we have to show that in the way that we live. But am I entitled? Do I deserve more than I think I should? The enemy uses it against us to cause division and competitiveness. I pray that our eyes might be open, because entitlement is very much at work in our